Amendments for child protective services are being discussed in Harrison County. The Blue Ribbon Committee invited state leaders to a meeting this afternoon to discuss recent policy changes. Topics included drug use and financial status of families. The Blue Ribbon Committee believes many existing laws are fixing one issue but leading to complications elsewhere. They wanted to meet with legislators to discuss how certain amendments could lead to increased safety for our children.
I think it's very helpful to have certainly someone that was instrumental in amending the statute, as well as us being able to say that these are some of the problems that have happened that maybe wasn't the intent.
A representative with Memorial Health reported 18 new CPS cases in Harrison County for the month of September. That brings the yearly total to 144.